The Squirrels Who Squabbled by Rachel Bright and Jim Field. The Squirrels Who Squabbled. Let's turn to the back and read the blurb. Greedy squirrels, Cyril and Bruce, both have their sights on a very special prize. The last pine nuts of the season. Uh-oh, the race is on. Let's see who gets the last pine nut. In a towering forest, where the summer had been, the cool air bit fresh and the mosses grew green, and as autumn edged in and the sky raged red, the sleepiest creatures got ready for bed. While up in a tree swung a flighty young squirrel, who everyone knew as Spontaneous Cyril. Now most of the foresty folk had seen to their needs through the plentiful months of mushrooms and seeds. They'd built up their stores so they'd all be well fed through the frosting of winter that glittered ahead. Now Cyril, he lived in the now and the here. He'd adventured and parted his way through the year. So his cupboard was empty, his hollow was bare. He hadn't a mouthful of food anywhere. But wait, what was that? Over there. Let's take a look. A single line pine cone wedged in a nook. He squealed with delight for a very good reason. For inside were the very last nuts of the season. Spontaneous Cyril thinks he's going to get that. Let's see if he does. But Cyril wasn't alone. There were more hungry eyes. Yes, plan ahead Bruce had his sights on the prize. Though he'd gathered a mountain of bounty hard fought, Bruce was convinced he was one pine cone short. I simply must have it, he wistfully cried as he dreamt of the fresh, juicy pine nuts inside. So as Cyril set off on his way to the ground, Bruce was also last pine cone bound. They sprinted and scurried with no time to gamble. They scratched at the bark in their scampering scramble. But their panic and haste shook the tips of the spruce, and the pine cone it trembled, and then it came loose. Both squirrels gave chase at a lightning pace. This was the start of a wild, nutty race. No, it's mine, shouted Cyril. No, mine, hollowed Bruce. You don't stand a chance. Give up, it's no use. I'm hungry, cried Cyril. This cone is not yours. Stay back, shouted Bruce. This cone's for my stores. It boinged over bushes and flew through the air. It binged on the nose of a slumbering bear. It bounced over boulders, then came to a stop. Got the bear chasing them as well. Then teetered and wobbled and quivered and plop. Both squirrels followed. Oh, the water was fast. Would they learn that they needed each other at last? But each was intent on how he would win, so they didn't quite notice a bird sweeping in. They're both so busy fighting over this pine nut that they don't notice this bird flying in. Cyril and Bruce, they watched in dismay as their cone disappeared up and away. Come back, shouted Cyril. There are nuts, exclaimed Bruce. But all hope was gone. It was simply no use. And meanwhile they drifted right up to the ledge. Greed, it was driving them. Whoa, over the edge. Cyril and Bruce, they had taken a fall. They were paying the price for wanting it all. They'd squandered their chances to team up and share. Would their nutty young hopes simply end in despair? Oh, goodness me, what on earth's happened? Let's have a look. Bruised and bedraggled, they swept past dry land. Cyril grabbed at a branch. with a trembling hand. Catching Bruce with the other, he heaved and he huffed, and dragged him to safety with panting puffs. They stared at the sky, quite lost deep in thought, until Bruce looked at Cyril and let out a snort. "How silly we are," he proclaimed, all a jiggle. "How greedy I've been," said Bruce with a giggle. "We shall change from today, may the squabbling cease. We should celebrate, seeing we're both in one piece." Have a look at them together, look on that page. They're both laughing. Been really silly. From that day forwards, they made a great pair. They would gather together and found all they could. Yes, Cyril and Bruce knew in the end the best thing to share is a laugh with your friend. After all that messing around, fighting over the pine nut, they now have learnt that it's best if they share. Okay, and that is the story of the Squirrels Who Squabbled by Rachel Bright